Oh my god, I've been so pumped for this episode.
I don't understand. Why are you...
Clearly you don't. My Hero Academia Season 6, Episode 23.
That's nice, but I promise I'm fine.
He's so deep into what he's doing. I also think a lot of this is concern for them.
I'm sorry.
How did he end up looking so terrifying? Look at their resolve.
That's what you were going to say.
Look at their faces.
Let's do this, class.
They didn't stumble into this. They didn't just walk into this with no regard for what's going on. They made a decision. And they're gonna win. I mean, I think that Deku can probably take them on a one-on-many, just in terms of power, but he's also broken physically and psychologically. He doesn't really want to do it. He doesn't want to fight his friends. This just happens when you're so deep in something, you go over 100% of your limit. Your body and mind kind of kick into this possessive overdrive based largely on momentum, where you can lose your grip a little bit on what matters, what you're actually doing. It just starts to feel normal and all-consuming, all-encompassing, but it's not really where his heart is. This is not Deku, and the class is picking up on that. I think their collective resolve to help Deku is greater than Deku's strength to keep going at this moment. And man, do they have a lot they can draw on to bring him back. I mean, he's helped all of them. He's been there for all of them. I mean, the first person that comes to mind is Ida, basically bailing him out of that potentially disastrous stain situation. I think also Deku was one of Ida's first friends, or first people to approach him and see past that kind of goofy, nerdy exterior. I can already imagine him being key to this, you know? Deku, you brought me back from the brink when no one else would. Now it is my turn to help you. Todoroki also an obvious one. It's your quirk, not his. It's their fight, not just Deku's. And Deku doesn't have to be All Might. Uraraka, I know, also going to be key. She's one of the people who's reflected the most on what Deku means to her. Even Invisible Girl. Invisible Girl is here. Deku, you saw me when no one else would. He means something to everyone, and this is a huge opportunity for them. They are here because they want to be here. They want to give back. My memory is not good enough to do examples for all of them, but I know they're there. Deku in many ways has been the heart and soul of this crew. They've all watched in awe as he's gone from this kid with no quirks, basically, to this endless source of strength and inspiration. And it's such a beautiful thing that they now, I think, have the opportunity to give it back in whatever way they can. Oh, and Mineta and Sue, they had their first adventure together in the training grounds. There's just so much history. It's too much. And I love this happening in front of the All Might statue.
Stand down. Run away.
I knew Ida was going to be a central part of this.
Meddling when you don't need to is the essence of being a true hero.
That's interesting flashback.
We heard you unlock quirks from users 4 and 6, but not that you started dressing like a villain. Talk, you damn nerd!
It's kind of harsh, but I kind of love it at the same time. It's very Bakugo. And I do believe it is concern.
Make sure he doesn't escape!
I like how Bakugo's leading, too.
And mine blast!
It's very on character.
You think the rest of us are just extras?
I don't think so, for what it's worth. Birds!
You sure look
Got a lot of quirks to get through.
hanging out.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, put those away for a minute.
Give it as an extension of your body.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, he helped him out with Black Whip. Got a lot of names to get through. I love it. Don't you remember the festival? The good times that we had?
When we were prepping for the school festival!
Yeah! Yeah, exactly. Of course. Deku doesn't even realize that's the gift they can give to him. Right. Send it home.
Remember when you faced Shinso at the sports fest?
No. Honestly. There's just so much history to remember it all.
Beat this guy for you and me, alright?
Right.
If I go to UA, it's like killing you myself.
They gotta demonstrate that they want to bear this burden.
Go! Dark Shadow!
Oh, man. Koyami.
Dang, he's gotten way too strong.
This has to be an emotional victory, not a physical victory.
And the next time Eri wants candy apples, I
Oh.
don't get to use my food coloring.
Oh, bringing up Eri.
Fine.
That's a good one.
Anyone can make them for her.
No. I feel like that one was one of the hardest cuts so far. Speaking of that momentum and just that absolute drive to finish the mission and the obsessive nature of his being in quest right now, it's so difficult to let go and give people their share of the burden if you have this kind of personality and you're this focused. It's not a small amount of faith and trust that it takes to hand off what you feel are your responsibilities to other people, especially if you're super conscientious like Deku is and you care so deeply about other people and you understand the effect it'll have on them and the effort it'll take and the sacrifices that they'll have to make, and it's on your behalf. It feels like you're doing them harm. But what that misses is that if you're lucky enough to have people like that in your life and they're genuinely good people, it's a joy for them to do that. It's really hard to take that mental space and to give people that opportunity and to even see it that way, to see that it is an opportunity. I can say, just from experience, some of the greatest joys in my life, things that have made me feel the most fulfilled and proud of myself, have been times where people I care about who have given me a lot have called on me to help them and I've come through. Some of the things I take the most emotional and personal stock in to this day are things that did not not benefit me directly, except that they were me doing things that helped people that have given me so much and done so much for me that I can give back to them, is one of the most valuable things I've ever experienced. If Deku can understand that, if they can get him to realize that, which I think is the whole point of this episode, he'll see that there's no greater thing that they would want than to be in service to Deku, even if it's in a very, very small way, as long as it's concrete.
We have a new mission that's been approved by Endeavor and the other supervising heroes.
Bring you home.
Our objective is now to ensure your safety by bringing you home.
Put me to sleep.
Not a chance. My dude.
My dude.
Do you recall what you said when we were attacked at camp?
God, so many moments. It's unbelievable.
We could probably even go up against All Might. Your words.
Whoa. Alright, they got
Observe how
triple
I use
layer
Dark
here.
Shadow's offensive ability to protect.
But Deku can break out of this. They just need to talk long enough.
We're not a bunch of fragile victims you have to keep out of harm's way.
That's so key. Yeah, let them make their own decisions.
Midoriya! No!
Oh, I'm like worried he'll hurt someone.
Forget about me.
Oh, he lost the mask.
I'm okay. Really, I'm fine.
Yeah, you look 100% okay. Not at all compromised. Todoroki, obviously a huge one. He's one of the closest to Deku.
We'll share this responsibility with you.
Midoriya,
Oh, and Sue.
you're dear to me. So when you're scared, I'll be by your side. When you're in pain, I'll cry with you.
Aw, so sweet.
Look around.
This is not it,
We're
man.
with you. You don't have to face anything alone.
And him trusting them is also one of the greatest signs of respect he could possibly give them. Deku versus Class A. And it's just a huge sign of friendship.
Basically, the only thing I got to do was chip him out of the ice.
Kirama, you gotta be there too, man.
I hate this. There's a ton of important stuff I want to tell him.
Go.
Two.
Let him go. Everyone needs to be there. That's great from Endeavor, too. He can see it.
Have you considered this might be exactly what All for One was hoping for? He could go after UA while we're distracted here.
And he also wants to wear Deku out.
Instead of abandoning it, come back and fight for it. Let's stand together and protect UA.
Great pitch.
Midoriya! You could all die.
That's true no matter what.
The rest of you can't keep up.
That's disrespectful.
Not so fast. Lay down a bead.
Hey! Oh no, the beads. I don't know how I feel about that one.
You know what made me fall for you? The times you were sweating bullets, shaking in your costume, while you figured out how we could kick some
Yeah, that
butt.
first battle.
I liked you when you could barely throw a smash.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not going to give up on you.
Yeah, it's gotta be Uraka.
I've changed.
Oh no.
They're dead.
How can I catch up to him?
Watch it, Todoroki!
I see. Group effort and zero gravity.
We don't want to be protected, so we're not going to give up on you.
Explosive speed turbo. Cluster.
And Bakugo goes after him.
There's still crap I want. No, crap I need to say to you.
Whoa.
I'll have to wait until this guy does his job. Since he's the one built for speed.
And it's Ida! I don't know why that's so perfect. Why does that feel so great? God, this is just hitting me with so much nostalgia. The things these kids have been through together. And everything we've seen Class 1A has seen together. They've been there for all of it. They've been fighting beside Deku this whole time.
Now keep fighting! I'll always be ready to challenge you!
I know what he's missing.
Friends. They're the same as him.
I'll always race to you! Did you forget that my name is Ingenium? Meddling when you don't need to is the essence of being a hero, right?
Oh my god. It came full circle. All these seasons later, I think that did it.
Uraraka!
Deku can dish out the meddling, but can't take it.
We probably should have planned for the landing.
Think about that later. There you go, here's some bombs.
Kirishima!
Just caught him out of the air. Invisible got left out.
It doesn't matter if you've got a special power or fate, whatever. What you did back then is the same sort of thing we're trying to do for you now.
Kiriyama outlining some of the themes of the show.
Let's stick together. It's time for you to come back to our class.
I'm sorry, I know this is terrible timing for this, and I'm not even trying. I've tried hard to reform my ways. Anyone else find it hilarious that Invisible Girl did nothing? I'm totally ruining this wholesome energy right now. Jokes aside, though, she came out. I think that's the important thing. She showed up. And on some level, this is going to be a huge relief.
I wish I could. But
Now we're talking at least.
I'm too scared.
It's honest.
You guys must get it.
They do get
Things
it.
can't go back to the way they were before.
They understand that. Have some faith in them. Give them a chance.
Stop trying to win this by yourself. But there was more on my mind.
Wow, this is very open for
The reason I got
Bakugo.
impaled is because my body moved on its own.
Wow.
Obviously way behind me, but somehow it always felt like you were ahead of me too.
Wow, this has gotta be so tough for Bakugo. This is huge.
I didn't want to accept you.
Talking as kids.
So I bullied you to make sure you'd stay away.
He's owning his own fear.
Every day I was forced to see how strong you were.
Deku just as stunned as I am. He bows to
I'm
him.
sorry for everything.
Yeah. I'm with Deku on this one. And this is so meaningful to Deku too, who just adores Bakugo.
In order to be our best selves, we'll save you, the refugees at UA, and everyone else. Anybody out there in need of a hero.
I believe him. I believe them.
All of you have already far surpassed me.
They just all love each other, as they should.
I'm sorry for saying that you couldn't keep up.
Yeah, that was a little bit out of pocket, but we get it. Man, this is just so cathartic for everyone, for everything the show's built over all these seasons.
Things will only get tougher from here.
It's like, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. They're going to be tougher, but they're also going to be better. And in some ways, they're going to be easier because there's less confusion. They just made a statement, all of them individually and as a group, that they're on the same page and they're on the same team and they have the same goal and they're all going to do their part to the best of their ability. One thing that's become more clearly defined for me watching the show in the search for the meaning of heroism is that I think there's an aspect of it that has to be judged based on ability. It's not necessarily based on the scope of accomplishment, and it's not necessarily based on how grandiose the thing is. I think it's a function of the individual person and their gifts and their accomplishment and situation. So in a way that's hard to explain, the individual students of 1A doing the best thing that they know how to do, that maximizes their abilities and their strengths, eliminating their personal weaknesses that get in the way, and just playing their role is as heroic as anything Deku can do, in a certain sense. Yes, even Invisible Girl. I mean, it might even seem a little bit cliche in the vein of, everyday heroes or whatever, but I don't think it makes as much sense to judge heroism based on the scope and scale, just because so many of those things are based on circumstance and partly based on luck and things out of one's control. If I'm thinking about what do I want to be evaluated on, I don't get as much satisfaction. I won't say no satisfaction, but not as much from leaning on things that I didn't really play a role in, things that are circumstances of my birth, for example, or my DNA. I think the question and the way I evaluate myself is, okay, given what I am, given the things I have, am I living up to my potential and to the things I see and the aspirations I have and the dreams I have and the values that I've created over my life? If the answer to that is yes, I can take really great satisfaction, and I'll call it pride for lack of a better word, in knowing that I'm doing my best, taking the things I have and even the limitations that I have and working among them to strive for 100% of what I can do and what I want to accomplish. So it's not lesser, it's not lesser that any of these students can stand behind Deku and play a role in defending UA, even if they're not going to be the ones who directly take on All For One and defeat him, even if they're not the ones on camera when that happens, although I suspect a lot of them will be there playing key roles. It doesn't make their actions any less significant. In fact, the way the show has been built and the way I expect it to continue going is that there is no anything without each one of them. You can compare their actions and say, okay, this was kind of a minor thing compared to what Deku's done, yet without that minor thing, Deku wouldn't have been able to do what he's done. That was that big thing in the first half of season 6 in the fight, So many things, so many tiny things, if they had gone differently, would have resulted in an even bigger loss and a game over event for the students when they were facing Shigaraki. So given that each person is essential, you can't say they're any lesser. You can't say that Deku is more important than them. And so as people who care about each other and also want them to live up to their potential and see them become heroes, you have to give them the autonomy to make that decision for themselves and just trust them. Trust each of them to do their role, play their part, and, even lean on them.
His eyes are open. 13.
He's had a big
He's
day.
Awake.
Good. Hi there. Midoriya.
Have we ever seen her face? Why does this feel new to me?
We've done our best to improve the situation out
Damn, this is UA? Walled City.
This is UA?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. It looks unrecognizable.
Except
for the buildings.
Security iceberg.
You're totally gonna geek out when you hear about the system.
There's a big fatal flaw in this whole thing, though. There's a big risk at the center.
I just can't take this risk.
Maybe rethink it after a good night's sleep.
Jeez, loud, aren't they?
And you're going to need to lean into your friend group even deeper.
Don't let that boy into you!
There's this lack of support. It's when you lean heavily into your friends and the people who matter. It's tough. It's a little bit defeating.
It's gonna be fine. We're all in this together. We won't let you go.
Wow, that was an insane episode. All the feels. The fatal flaw that I'm thinking of, I hesitate to even say this out loud, but there's the issue of the traitor, right? And the person I've suspected for the longest is Nezu. And he's the one inviting Deku in. And that's kind of the fatal flaw. Like, it doesn't matter how good your security systems are if the person at the center of controlling all of it is not on your side. That's not saying that he is the traitor necessarily, but that is a potential danger that it all kind of hinges on him if he's controlling the whole thing. And not to mention the fact that, I mean, even with a crazy defense system and apparatus in place, you're facing All For One and Shigaraki and all the villains and just a lot of bad actors. I absolutely love this episode. Obviously, it's 6 seasons of love and friendship, all condensed and poured out into verbal form for Deku to hear. You don't realize it necessarily. A lot of these things go unspoken. What you mean to people and what people mean to you. You know, sometimes you regret not being more forthcoming about it, but I think luckily a lot of the time people just intuit it. And then, of course, there are moments where it becomes necessary to express it, and this is one of those moments. There's no question, right? Like, you watch this and you look back at all the seasons and you realize, man, Deku really has done a lot for people. But also, they've been great to him. He came in as this kind of weird, seemingly quirkless dude. There was never really any animosity towards him. They just treated him as a friend and were really good to him. Bakugo, the obvious exception, but I mean, that's part of what makes Bakugo's speech so powerful, is that he just totally made himself bare and made himself vulnerable, took ownership of his weaknesses and his fears, at the heart of which is deep admiration and respect of Deku and what he can do. Bakugo's confession and Ida's hand grabbing, I think, are the two most powerful parts of this episode for me, though it's all great. The show is so expertly crafted that even with all these confessions, you know, what these confessions are doing for me is revealing how much more there is than their confessions. I mean, they had to get these little bite-sized nuggets for people to say and reference moments of the show, but it's so much more than they could even say. It's a group of people who have basically dedicated their lives to a cause that's together. It's a group of kids who are kids and flawed and have moments of weakness and fear and sadness and whatever, yet they as a group have done such an amazing job providing this support structure for each other that doesn't allow anyone to fall. And the net effect of that is that they're all much more than the sum of their members. They're this rare unit. I've been saying for a long time that the number one hero thing is kind of a misdirect, that it's not going to be just Deku, right? It's not going to be a hero that does everything. It's going to be class 1A, and I don't think that's ever been more apparent than in this episode. I don't think it's going to be easy for Deku. I don't think he's going to be able to just flip a switch and be okay with the whole thing. He's going to be fearful. It's going to be confusing and chaotic, but watching this episode, I feel such a sense of relief that he's just not alone anymore, that he's not shouldering this whole burden by himself, that he doesn't have to, that this class of amazing kids gets to give back. I mean, there was like this palpable vacuum where they have all this ability, all this talent, all this will, this heroic spirit, but we're just kind of left on the sidelines to wait while they hear about Deku. It just wasn't right. It felt like untapped potential. They're meant to be together. It's always been a group effort.